being young, it's trying new things, exploring new things, and being curious about a lot of stuff. And you know, taking risks is a big thing. Taking big risks, and sometimes they lead to like really, really good outcomes. So that's what I mean by youth.
It's a little community.
It's a little community, but he can be very cocky now that he has a large bike. And he's probably gonna flame me for that, but like it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Elijah didn't go to uni. He was working at a fast food restaurant at the time. He took great pride in his motorcycle riding. Photography was his thing for a while, and he also wanted to go to film school. It's noticeable that from the way he speaks, he has a way with words. But above all, he was enjoying his youth and his freedom.
Can you introduce yourself a little bit?
So I'm Elijah. I went to Penno. I'm about 19 now. So it's been like probably a year since I've been to Penno. Yes, I work at a very crummy Macca's job, but it's getting me to places. And you know, at the time, I don't really need money right now. It's not of most importance. Most importance is kind of my life and how I'm kind of enjoying how I'm young right now. So it's just an experience of I want to enjoy my early years, and then when it comes to the point when I need to start stepping it up, I will step it up.
What do you mean? What does that young mean to you? Youth. What does that mean to you? Yeah. Being young. Yeah.
Being young, it's trying new things, exploring new things, and being curious about a lot of stuff. And you know, taking risks is a big thing. Taking big risks, and sometimes they lead to like really, really good outcomes. So that's what I mean by youth.
Can you give an example of taking a risk?
Motorbike. I'm probably going to mention that one too many times in this, but it is that. And because when I initially got in it, I'll admit I was scared and I was terrified. I didn't want to leave my street. But then I had an old mate, Peter, who was just like, all right, let's just go ride somewhere. But I went with Peter, and it was on my birthday when I got my motorbike. So here I am riding to Parramatta, kind of scared shitless, but I had fun doing it. And then because of that, I could just go anywhere. I felt like I could go anywhere. And I went up north, I went traveling, I went around the block, and it was, that's all it took. But it was a risk that I took, and it's true I was scared at the start, but I'm having so much fun riding my bike and enjoying it. And that's why I say it's like, I like doing this stuff when I'm young. I like having the opportunity to get stuff when I'm not having to rely on things that are like a lot of pressure putting on me. Like for example, if I'd already moved out, I'd have to deal with the money to put into that, the money to put in my own food and basically my house or apartment or whatever I'd be in. And in a sense, I feel like I'd be restricted and I wouldn't have the freedom because I'd be relying on, it's adulthood. I mean, sure, it's going to happen at some point, but like I'm trying to enjoy what I have now before it's gone, It's like enjoy family. I enjoy my family before it's, I'm too old. So yeah.
Can you tell us a bit of your family?
That kind of depends on what we talk about family, if it's like culture or something, or
no, just what's your family consist of?
Well, my family is
what they do.
Well, my mum is working in architecture, like structural architecture, and looking at making buildings and stuff. My stepdad is also so my mum and my stepdad who I live with. My stepdad, he's a tradie, so he does kind of does just an all-rounder things. My actual dad works in IT, so as long as my stepmom as well. So they're in a separate household, but they both work in IT, and I kind of just go from place to place. So I kind of do have a lot of, I guess, from there support as well, and it's a lot of family I can kind of go to as well. I have my brother Akash, and then my oldest brother Kyron as well.
How old are they?
Akash is 22. I think my oldest brother is 24. I'm not sure. I haven't asked them.
Okay. When did they get divorced?
Before I was born, so it didn't really affect me too much.
Okay.
But it was there and it had its ups and downs. But it's fine now because I never really worried too much about it in the first place.
Okay. What's their background? When they born in Australia?
My mum was born in Jamaica, so I get that heritage, and people will question how I don't look anywhere close to Jamaican, but it's there, it exists. And my dad's side is Indian, so I've got that interesting mix, and then you just can't really see it there.
So what's the people's guess usually?
European. It's a very common guess, at least from what I know of, is European or something along the lines of European, or I think one time it was called a Jew.
Okay.
That's all jokes aside, though.
Yeah. What kind of influence your parents have on you?
I've always seen it when I was younger as, oh man, I've never really liked my parents, they're always so strict on me. But then I look back at it now and I actually realize that it all really added up to me now. And yeah, that's very cliche, but I'd rather that I'm happy that they were actually how they were strict on me, but also were still very caring, and you know, if something happened, they'd be very supportive. And so I kind of have found that good balance. So now I don't feel like I'm a softie, but you know, I'm happy with who I am, and you know, I went back down to an argument. So yeah, I'm just happy with who I am.
Are they ambitious for you?
Yeah, they very much are. In some cases, when I do push myself to things, but again, I guess that's the only one thing I couldn't find from this is a little bit of motivation. So they try and kick something in there. So yeah, I think I would say yes.
Okay. What are your feelings towards your parents now?
I just love them to bits. They always regardless of the situation, they're always happy about something. Not overly happy, but you know, they're there, they have a smile, they'll try their best and stuff, and it's just really what I appreciate about them is that, you know, they always try to help me out whenever there's a problem, like no matter what it is, and just see if there's any ways to like fix it. And you know, I really appreciate my parents for that, and my dad is always supportive, and whenever there's something and I need something, he always just tries to help me out with it. Like when it helps with buying certain things, like, you know, again, motorbike, probably the 5th time now.
Okay. What are your ambitions?
I'm not quite sure, because that's when I have a little bit of clueless now, because I have so much freedom. I don't have too many ambitions, or if I do, it's just like it's still kind of in the search.
I remember you once wanted to be part of the army or something.
I did, and it was there, and then it died down because I realized that my life isn't just all this military mumbo jumbo. As much as I do like it, it's not. I just wanted to step down from it a bit because I wanted to look at things realistically.
Okay.
So that's why I started getting a job and looking into that film school, because I wanted to do something that I know that I would enjoy, and that I could just make things about it. And sure, it's, you know, it's still there and I can still do it, but I've got other job opportunities I want to do.
What about when you were younger? Like, what did you want it to be? Like,
it was army, and filming was kind of brought in, influenced, like, not really peer pressure, but it was influenced by my mates, and because I just looked at it, I'm like, whoa, these films are really cool. I love the way they do their camera work. I love a lot of that stuff, and so I got brought into it as well after looking into it, and then Archie was another influence to that.
Okay.
So
what does success mean to you now?
Success? It just means satisfying yourself, to be really honest. Like to be like complete, I guess, in sense that is success, because it's not money, it's not really being with someone. You know, you can be with yourself and you can still be successful, be happy. You know, it's like, yeah, it's just, success is just enjoying it, like loving and caring for yourself. And I think that's what would be successful to me, is if I can be happy and, you know, enjoy my day, because, you know, sometimes you run into shit, and, you know, it's how it is, but I think that's truly what it is, regardless of money, regardless of fame, regardless of anything.
What are your obstacles now?
Obstacles? Maybe just money. It is a limit, because it's like, I can't do this, I can't do that, I have to stick with this, or I can't save as much, or like, you know, obstacles I guess might be emotional ones, because I'm not, as much as I am working on myself, I'm not in the best shape still. So it's like sometimes it'll push me, it'll make me make decisions, because I know that I have to be realistic sometimes, and I have to push away things I like just so I can, you know, satisfy these expectations that might be done, or anything else.
Can you give an example?
Well, so I'm having a bit of a mind blank right now. I guess it is just kind of, it's like certain, like talking to certain people, or, you know, when I was interested in someone and I pushed it away, not that it was anyone I was with before, but when I had other interests in other people, and I kind of had to push that away because it's like a fear of ruining a friendship, if that makes sense. So it's there and exists, sure, but I will always stay that sort of that low. Other reasons could also include, like, I guess when the barriers, again, it's just the money. It's like, I've always wanted something, I really want it. No, I just can't have it, because it's either going in the savings and I'm not touching it, or it's, you know, and it's just the thing I have to do. I'm kind of just built to save money now. Such a thing for me, but yeah.
Did you have a good childhood?
I would say it's a same old. I moved a lot when I was young, so I kind of moved from years 1 to 3. I moved to Australia, and then Australia I moved like twice there. So I moved from like Double Bay to like Penno Hills. So it was a lot of moving. I didn't have any friends longer than a couple years, and since I was too young at the time, I couldn't get in contact with them. And same with people in Double Bay that I knew, because again, I was just too young. And I guess it was the first time I was like, I looked and I was like, damn, I actually really miss these people. Because the one people, even like the people that, you know, I thought were like just bullying me, they were good friends with me. They were fine. They were just having banter with me, and I felt bad. And I was like, man, I really wish I actually, you know, got to hang out with them after this, because, you know, I feel like you should never judge people when they're younger. You realize when they're older and they're mature. You know, people are amazing people, you know, but some people don't change.
Okay. What about the other memories of childhood, like playing sports, music, and other activities that you did?
Yeah, I used to play the piano a lot. That was when it really sprung up with me, when I was kind of given a keyboard and I started playing, and I really liked the things, like, you know, the tunes, and so I really got into it. I started taking lessons and everything. That, and also it was also at the same time my dad kind of introduced me into like little basic software things. So he showed me this program called Scratch, and I kind of really progressed from there, and that's when I started liking software and games, and or even just general software design. And I used to build little mini games, and I found that really entertaining. So that's what kind of made me a little bit of a computer geek as well. But yeah, I can't say I'm exactly a computer geek now.
Okay. Do your parents own property?
No, not that I know of, at least.
Because when I met them in the parent interview once, they look quite fancy.
They do kind of dress to impress, but you know, they always try to dress nice. Whenever it's an occasion, whether it is, they'll try to dress nice. So it's what my parents do, and it's just a thing dead in the family, I guess. Whenever you're going out somewhere, you always dress a little smart. So.
Okay. So they look like they're from some upper middle class, you know, like.
This is how my parents are.
Where does this taste come from?
That is a good question. I guess, well, because I can't say anything about wealth. My parents, I never really talk about wealth with my parents or say anything. I just assume, we're just middle class people, you know. It's just how we are and the way we act, and we'll act like this, but maybe, you know, it's just.
You see, like in Australia, nobody cares about their own face. They will just dress whatever they want, like really casual.
It's the way. Okay, that's what it is. It's the way that my parents grew up. They were like, my stepdad would have grown up. I mean, probably, like, you've seen him, and it's the way he dresses. It's very, very casual. But it's like, it's where my mom came from, and how she was in England, the way she was raised. Same with my dad, because my dad used to be in one of those little like military schools, or, you know, like the ones that are really hard on you, and because he used to live in India at the time, So he kind of had strict dress codes, you know, this and that. So he'll always kind of dress like that, and it'll just be sort of how he is. Like since again, when I with the school, and you know, the dress codes were there, but they weren't strict. So you end up people wearing sort of just anything they want. And the sense it kind of grew on to the next generation of people. And so, you know, you see people in offices, they won't wear what they were wearing before. So he's used to that. And, you know, other people are used to, however, their other stuff, but, you know.
Do you think your parents could have afforded to send you to the private school?
Maybe on my father's side. But even then, like, if you knew any, if I realized I was at a private school, I would want to be in the next like public school. Because to be really honest, I do not like private schools. They're just something about them. It feels too privileged. So even if I was in one, it just wouldn't feel right to be in one because it doesn't feel right.
How come?
Because it's a school with only maybe a few extra positives to it. And it's no different. It's not like you're getting a different education. It's not like you just maybe have a higher chance of going into a selective school. That's most of it. But even then, you can still get into a selective school. And nowadays, it's easier than it was before.
Okay.
So I find that at private schools, even then, I don't like them.
Do you think that people go to private school, they have a much better chance to be successful in a society than the people go to public school?
I can understand where the idea comes from. But if they actually look into it, they'd realize there's no difference. You're only paying extra for maybe a few benefits. I don't see much you can see out of increasing it, because if you could be dumb in a public school and you could be dumb in a private school. So it's that kind of situation. You know, as long as they're paying money, they get a nice school. They get they might get some food at lunch. You know, they might be treated better.
I would like you to look into the fact that they are from wealthy families from start off, and they might even form very strong connections among their own type of people, and they might thrive because of that benefits they start off.
I'm not saying they won't strive, no. I'm just saying that the education system is not different compared to each one. You could be working in the same lines of math and English and science and everything else. You're still learning the same thing. Your parents are just paying extra for a special school. That's how I see it. And
do you think the class mobility is still there though? Like if we work hard from lower middle class, and then you can go up, and if you're from working class, you work hard, you can still go up. Is it still all?
It's nowadays actually it's especially way more possible than it was before. I reckon when the time before like drop shipping and e-commerce, you could say yes, it was very hard because you just couldn't. You could really try, and yes, you can get to a high middle class, but it'd almost be impossible to get in anywhere at the millionaires unless you struck a lottery ticket. So with e-commerce now, it kind of changed the whole game, and you can see that people are they're rich. They can go wherever they want, and they're getting paid idly, and all they have is a little website selling stuff or drop shipping or website building, etc. But they're just getting money, or they're just getting idle money. They just have to look at the computer, do whatever they need to do, live it for the day.
Okay.
So it's like it's a whole different story when it comes to now the 21st century and the way they're doing things.
Have you personally experienced some sort of class difference in person?
I wouldn't say dramatically. I notice people, for example, people might give you a bad look, but I guess it is mostly a minimal difference, to be honest. Like, no one's treated me differently, at least.
Okay.
Or if they have, I haven't noticed or cared because it's not in my concern.
Okay. If you have children, would you send them to the private school or public school, if you can afford it?
Public.
Okay.
It feels like you're open, as much as yes, private schools are open to things, but I feel like it's good to experience public school because it feels a bit more free in my sense.
Okay. Just
as a personal opinion, and I feel like if you can give them that, might as well.
Would you like to get married one day?
I would love to, but it's there as a wish. So it might get there eventually, and I would accept it. But it's like the same with kids, and I'd accept those too. But it's like,
So both are maybe. Marriage and children, maybe.
If it's there, and it's truly someone I enjoy and love, then yeah. But I'm setting my standards high for that, because
What's your standards?
well, it's not really something I can just exactly say in words, because it's something that needs to be expressed. Love is a thing you need to express, and people that express it differently, but like the ways people do it, it's the way that it does it, and the way it presses buttons. And if it feels like it's toxic, then I couldn't. I'd have to keep it as what it is, or get rid of it. So love is a very sort of sensitive, but it's a soft topic, and so yeah.
And children?
So children, yes.
Yes?
Marriage and children, it's a big yes for me. I've always wanted that. It feels like people don't realize, people look at it and like, oh, you have to pay for this, pay for that. It's such a big deal. You have to deal with crying babies. I'm like, it's only a small part until you get rid of it, and you realize how nice it is. 'Cause even though sure, it can be painful sometimes, it's nice. It's nice. And like, for example, when I had my half sibling Javier and my other half sibling Mika, sure, they're really annoying, but they're so fun to play with, like, and spend time around, because they're just sweet little kids, and it's so fun. So it's like,
Are they go to Penno?
no, they're in the city with my dad, so it's like still a bit away.
Okay. Do you believe in love?
Yes. I definitely believe in love. I definitely believe it exists. And I definitely believe that it's not fixated on a relationship. It's a genuine thing that's just about everywhere. So you don't have to, be in a relationship to love someone. I love my parents, for example. I love my friends. They're all amazing. And, it's the care. You kind of need to mix love and care together, because they're kind of the same thing. Because it's appreciation for another person. So I find that it's expansive, it's free, it's everywhere, and you can give it out, and it's
Okay. Now, I'm here only talking about romantic sense.
Sorry.
Do you believe in love? It's okay. Do you believe in love in the romantic sense?
Yes, I do. But nowadays I second guess it.
Second guess?
It feels like people give out different cues. So it's like, when I do think of it, I'm like, is it love, or is it just someone being nice to me, really, really nice to me, or is it someone flirting with me, is it someone being nice to me? It's like, it's like a tumbleweed kind of just bouncing in my head, because it's like I can't think of what really love is.
Okay. But you believe it?
I believe it's there. It's somewhere there.
Have you ever fell in love?
Genuinely, I guess I can say yes, but I don't know if I could call it love.
Okay.
It was something.
What was that like? That you maybe fell in love, that feeling?
Well, yeah, it's very cliche. It gets your heart racing. It makes you feel different. Get butterflies in your stomach. But I mean, it wasn't just that. But it was like the fact that it was like, hey, I can sit here and I can talk to someone and they can listen to me, or I could just feel like comfort in a different way to, like, just not just my family, but I can just feel like this comfort with this one person, and it feels amazing, because it's like I don't want to let go, but I say it because it's like, was it love, or was it just me having feelings at the time and finally actually having a relationship for once? It's a factor of, like, maybe was this a forced one, maybe was it them feeling bad, or was it it kind of went around in circles, because it's like I hear so many different things, and when I look back at that relationship as well, it's like, man, there's so many things I'm thinking about going through my mind. So it's like, was it really that? And that's also kind of adds to what makes me question what is love now. But at the time, yeah, it was. Yeah, I've kind of just I feel like I've wandered off again.
It's okay. What do you think love should feel like, to experience like, looks like?
The biggest thing I can say is comfortable. You should be able to trust that other person. You should be able to be comfortable with them. You should be able to talk everything, or I say everything, talk what you can with them. And I feel like there should be nothing hidden. You take it with a grain of salt. Depends what it is. But you should be able to, like, for example, you should be able to go out and, you know, to be comfortable. Don't be stressed that, oh, is this person going to be with another guy or another girl, or, you know, it's like, you know, that's what I feel like is the problem. Like now, it's like, if I go out with someone, what if they're just going to keep thinking that? I don't want them to feel bad, because then it puts me and it gives me anxiety. It's like, and I feel the same thing. What if they were going to go out with another guy or girl? You know, it's like so it's sort of this generational panic. It's anxiety. It's constantly. It's like, and it overwhelms a lot of people with, like, you know, overwhelms people with, like, a lot of, you know, a lot of this generation, because it's like so many questions now, you know, and so many people doing horrible things as well. It just adds. It's like salt in the wound. So it's like, you know, that's the worry.
Have you ever had a heartbroken?
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was just cold. I mean, I did cover it up with other feelings, but it was pretty cold. And at the time, it was kind of more like broken before it even happened, because I realized what was happening. So I went cold, and I just, you know, as much as I was trying to fix something, what was the point of fixing it if there's nothing to fix? And so, yeah, it was bittersweet though when it kind of happened, because it was like, now I'm just gonna sit here and, you know, I'm just gonna see what I can do in my life, because, you know, that's gone. It's like an empty hole. It's just like the hole in the heart now. It's still trying to be patched up, but, you know. But it's like, it's still kicking. It's fine. That's what matters. Is it's still kicking, and I'm still trying to fix it, you know. And I feel like the progress is what matters.
What kind of quality are you looking for in your partner?
Trust and loyalty. That's it. I mean, well, I say that's it. Obviously, I want someone I can talk to. I wanted someone I can hang out with as much as I could, like a best friend to me, as well as still being my partner. And it's just the fact that I feel like I can go out, or they can go out, and you don't have to worry about anything, because, you know, it's there, you know. And if you let someone else take them, then it's like, let them take them, because obviously, clearly, it wasn't the right person, and they can move on with their life. That's fine, but, you know, I find that people, if they're there, if I have someone, they need to stick. Otherwise, I don't like half-assed stuff. It just hurts, and so that I don't want to go through another heartbreak. So it's, you know.
You don't want to go through another heartbreak?
Yeah, because, you know, it's because people don't meet my expectations of just being trustful, loyal, and caring, and, you know.
But isn't it heartbroken part of life? It's a gamble that you.
It's a part of life, but it shouldn't be so persistent.
Part of love. What I'm saying.
Yeah.
You getting to that field. The risk is always there.
Yeah, I know the risk is always there. But what I will do is I'll do what I want to do, and I'll say, I have these expectations. I won't physically say it, but I have these expectations, and, you know, it feels like they need to be set. The last thing I want is to be heartbroken again, because it's I don't want to have to keep dealing with the same thing. And the last thing I want to be is, you know, just like, what's the word for it? I guess just like used to it. I don't want to be used to heartbreak. It's just a horrible feeling, you know. I don't want to have to keep going through something, because then you just go numb. You lack emotion every time you go into a relationship, and every time you have a heartbreak, it's like you'll just lose yourself, because every time you're in a relationship, there's a chunk of your relationship, or like a chunk of you in that relationship, and it gets lost if it's broken. And then that happened again, it's broken, and then it keeps piling up until you only have a little bit, because you're just used to it. You're used to you know, people keep like breaking up, or you're used to having a one-night stand, or you're used to this, and so it's like, yeah, cool, hi, how are you? Meet up, 2 weeks, it's gone, and, you know, that's what I don't want. I want something where I can stick, and, you know, I can just be happy. It's that big word, happy.
What have you learned from that relationship that you had? What have you learned?
To not be an asshole on my side, but as well as to, I guess, just be careful.
What do you do to deserve to be called asshole?
Because I will admit, there were times in the relationship where I was rude, because I guess I'd probably have some sort of hidden anger issue at some point at that time, so I was really like, I couldn't deal with things sometimes, And emotions, since everything was really hitting me hard, and the school at the time was just only getting worse, I sort of just, I couldn't be like me. I just had to be, I felt like I had to be someone else. I had to constantly try and be happy and, you know, constantly live up to this expectation. I was always being talked to, and I felt like I couldn't have my own time. So it just felt off, and, you know, at that point it felt really cold as well. So, you know.
Right. You have religion.
Religion? Not for me. My parents came from a Christian family, but that I don't know too much of.
Are they religious or just secular religious?
It was in the family, so sacrilegious. Their parent, like my grandpa or grandfather and my grandma would be like Christian, but no, my mum wasn't. It was just in the family again.
So what do you believe in life then?
Well, I guess that's when I just say love. If it had to be anything, because I don't really have a specific thing, it's just love. You believe in love, you believe in how far it can take you, you know, like the human spirit. Sounds very dumb.
No, it's not.
Well, I believe in it because it's like it takes you places, and it took me places, and it takes me to different people, and, you know, the confidence to speak up and hang out and talk out, and, you know, for someone who's like me, I'm just a fat introvert. I like to stay inside most of the times. So when I was able to go and hang out in the city with friends or hang out in different places with friends, it felt like amazing. It felt like, oh, you know, I could connect finally. And I met new people, and you know, it sometimes there's some similar interests, and, you know, it's like, that's when, you know, you can go through life again, and it just kind of keeps in that cycle. It's love. It's everywhere. It's like, you just do dumb things with friends, you annoy them, you piss them off, but in a good way. You have a banter, you know, it's fun, it's nice, and, you know, you can enjoy it.
Okay. Have you thought about death? Death.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on it?
It's there, it exists, and it will happen. So there's nothing you can do about it. But what you can do is try and enjoy it before it comes.
Okay. What's gonna happen after death?
Well, I have a very rational belief that, you know, there could be a chance that, you know, you reincarnate as someone, and you forget your past self. You are just a new person.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what it is, but you're there. You don't know your old person, but you're there and you exist. So your souls are shared from generation to generation. So, but I guess we'll never know, because death's death. I'm not going to say, I'll admit, yeah, in reality it is cold and harsh, but sometimes I like to put something there, at least it kind of covers that emptiness. So,
what's a good thing about life to you?
Is that people, well, for me, it's like, I realize every time, like, I feel like it's almost every day I realize how amazing it is, and how it's like, it's so, like, you should cherish everything, like I do, and even the little things, you know, the little things that people do to give me something, or, you know, the little compliments, as simple as if it's saying, hi, how are you, you know, how are you doing, or, you know, manners, thank you, I appreciate this, you know, have a great day. It's like all these things, these small things that remind me that, you know, life isn't shit. Life isn't awful, and, you know, sure, I might have horrible days, but it's there and exists, and I take every compliment, you know, I hand out compliments, and because I want people to realize that, you know, it's not bad. It's a really lovely place out there, and, you know, some people can look at it a different way, and everyone has, some people, they just constantly have a cloud over their head. Whether you know, it's them, or it's a mental condition or anything, you know, but people will try to fix it, and you can, like, you know, it's what matters, you know. It's when you try to fix it and you try to realize and just look, hey, life's not so bad, you know. It's like, again, I used to be in a dark place, and I'm not as much now, and it's gotten better.
Okay.
So,
what's the most enjoyable thing to do right now?
Enjoyable? Just hanging out with friends, because they're like another family to me, so it's like really nice. Progressing, I guess. Just going kind of looking into new things and seeing how I want my future to be. Because again, I'm still in the exploring stages. I feel like I'm a bit late to the party because yes, people are already in uni, but everyone takes their time, and I like to take my time, and I like to explore things and just take in stuff and do things, and that's what I enjoy.
Okay. When were you the happiest?
When was I the happiest? I'd say up until actually recently.
Okay.
Within the past only few months, I'd say. Because it's like, I felt like I realized everything was getting into shape now, and it's getting there, and people and things are progressing. Sure, I get hit with a few things, but you know, I move on, and I'm fine. I look at things optimistically, or I try to at least. Sometimes, yes, it's hard, but I try to.
To-do list before you die?
That's a good question. I don't think I have a to-do list. I guess maybe it's explore everything. Explore most options I can, preferably the good ones. And explore places physically and go, like one of the things I always want to do is just explore the world and just see everything. If I take a photo or not. Like my account, when I take all my photos, and I don't just take, that's why I don't put a lot in there, but it's there because it's like, it's taking photos of you know, where I've been, what really mattered to me. I take photos of it, you know. So sometimes, you know, it's like I keep an account of places that, you know, really affected me. And yeah.
Who is the closest person to you?
Well, it is friends, basically. Or I have a very small, close friends group, kind of consists of mates like Ewan, Tom, Alicia, a couple of others as well. But they were my close friends, and I talk to them, I hang out with them most of the time, and you know, that's like the top.
Okay.
Because like they're usually always there, and you know, they always kind of put a smile on my face, and always there to kind of help out. Sure, we'll always make the worst jokes ever, but they're there, and that's why.
What kind of jokes do you do?
Huh?
What kind of jokes did you make?
Jokes?
Yeah.
They're very much inside jokes. I don't think any you'd get any of them, so it's preferably not to say.
Okay. Who communicates with you most often?
Tom. If it was just out of those three, because there's still a bunch of others, but Tom and Alicia.
Okay.
I kind of respect both of them the most, to be honest.
Do you like change?
I like change, but I also would respect change, because I know that I admit sometimes change isn't what you want, but you have to respect it, otherwise you're just going to go down a rabbit hole.
Do you care about what other people think of you?
No. They can think what they want. I don't mind. You know, what matters is I kind of stay on my own path. So if they want to call me this, call me that, sure, go ahead. It's not going to faze me.
Have you always been like this?
No. I'll admit there are times when I was in school and I felt like popularity was a thing, so I tried to keep it out of the bids and be like, oh yeah, sure, I get upset. But like nowadays I'm just like, you know what, there's no point, because you just let people judge you. I guess I'm used to people just kind of throwing shade on me and throwing rumors around, so it's like I'm just used to it. Yeah.
What rumors?
Probably some nasty ones. I don't think I really want to explain them, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah.
Why did they do that?
Because just people are like that. And it was, to be really honest, it was probably from my older group when I used to hang out with the others, like Peter's group. I guess that wouldn't make sense to most people, but only Penno people. But yeah, no, with the old group I used to be with, and they didn't actually like me a lot. I can say that with in all genuinely, I don't think they really liked me at all, but I was there and I was kind of annoying, fair enough, but like, they were probably one of the causes to it. And that's hence why I kind of moved my groups during the late years of high school. And it was probably a smart move, and I should have done it earlier.
What did you do to annoy them?
I was just being me at the time, because I probably have some undiagnosed like ADHD, so it's like I can't control myself and I can't control the way I act, but I just do these things and I don't intentionally mean to be annoying. It's just me. So I go in there and, you know, they get mad at me for it, but like, what am I meant to do? So things happen, people talk shit behind my back, and, you know, and people throw stuff away, and that group also almost damaged the relationship I had in it. And so it was like, it was all really big, to be honest.
Do you like people?
As a general statement?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like everyone. I'm not gonna hate anyone. I don't hate anyone anymore, no matter who they are. But yeah, I don't hate most people, at least.
Even those people who are doing nasty things and spreading rumors about you, you don't hate them?
No, because end of the day, everyone has their own reason as to why they're going to be like that. Everyone has their own reason as to why, you know, they may throw shade at you. You know, people have their own emotions, feelings, and, you know, they have their own struggles. So I feel like sometimes you just need to talk it out before, you know, you immediately go in and try and just throw insults back at them. I didn't know that I wasn't like that at the time, but I am now, and, you know, I'm happy to talk out with anyone, whoever it is, because I feel like it's positives in this world that you need to look at, not an overly positive, and, you know, you're neglecting all your bad things and hiding them in a corner and until they, you know, something bad happens and you kind of outburst. But the kind of ones where it's like, you know, you just talk it out. You know, sometimes people need like people to talk to. So I feel like, you know, before you go and insult someone, you just talk to them, see how they are and why they're doing this. If they're persistent, you just trying to talk to them, you can just leave them alone. This is just how it is.
So what made you change?
It was just a realization of who I was and how I felt like I was being too toxic against people, too toxic towards people. And so it was kind of just during this year, it was just sort of molding me into me now. And I realized, hey, look, you know, there are so many positive things happening out there. And, you know, I always try to spread positivity now, you know. And I feel like also one of the biggest things, like go approach a stranger, say hi, give him a flower. That's one thing I think I've done as well when I was... I go up, I ride my bike, and if I see another person riding a bike, I give them a fist bump, because it's just, I feel like it's just cool, you know.
He's part of community.
It's just a community that, like, it doesn't even need to be a community. It doesn't matter where you are. Everyone's a big community.
No, like motorcycle riding community, you know.
Yeah, the riding community is just an example, but like it's that whole kind of spectrum of people. It's just everyone. Everyone's everyone, you know. And sure, some people won't change, and they'll keep persistently being rude. You can ignore them.
Okay.
But you should try and look at things in positive and just keep things positive, because what's negative going to do? It's just going to pile on. It's just going to be rude, and it's just going to make everyone's day bad.
Okay.
You know, and you know, people don't notice it piles on. Anger and aggression and everything, it piles on. So you need to, like, find a way to dissipate it, or, you know, just don't do anything about it at all. Preferably don't do anything. Well, that didn't make sense. Do something about it.
Okay. Are you a perfectionist?
I wouldn't exactly say that, but I mean, in aspects of design, I guess you could say perfectionist. I wouldn't say as, you know, standard for meeting people perfectionist, no. But yes, kind of in a sense, because I always like things to look nice. But that's it.
Are you good with making decisions?
Not really. I'm all right with making decisions if I have to make them because it's on my own. Then yes, I will make decisions. But because I always like to agree, like if it was a group thing, I'd agree it as a group. I shouldn't put my opinion as it's the only opinion, or my opinion as it's the strongly recommended one, unless obviously there are reasons to it. That was context.
Are you good with expressing your emotions?
Not really, because I've kind of so used to holding a lot of it in, and that's just been a bad habit of me.
What about now?
And even now, it's still kind of there. I don't express my emotions a lot because, you know, I'm just kind of, again, I do the thing I say I shouldn't, and it's just bottling it up. But I can't control it because it's I'm used to it. So it stays there for a little bit, and then it might come out every now and then. But yeah.
When was the last time you cried? Sorry.
Maybe a day or two ago.
What happened?
It's just a breakdown. It's just kind of like a mixture of everything. Work is very stressful because it's like I'll have managers constantly on me, and you know they're always expecting such an amount from me. So I think that's the reason why I'd quit the job, because the managers are just assholes. Some of them are alright. Some of them are alright. The others are assholes. The good ones, some of the good ones left as well, and some of my mates left too. So it's like I'm kind of there on my own with a couple mates and a couple assholes and managers. So it's like it bottles up. I think the work is the biggest thing, because it bottles up. And so this is when I'll start looking into like work that I enjoy. At least then I won't be pissed about it. Then it's going off topic again. But yeah, no, I'm not good with holding my emotions, to be honest.
When are you gonna quit your job?
Very, very soon. I'm trying to find another one in the meantime to hold on to some sort of income.
Okay.
So yeah.
Are you confident?
Yes, I'm confident.
Okay. What's the source of your confidence?
There's no source. I'm just confident. I'll just do, if I need to do it, I'll do it. Or I'll try to, and if I can't, I can't. Sure, sometimes I will look at it and cower away because I don't want to do something, but 9 times out of 10 I'll look at it and I'll be like, I'll do it. I'll talk to this person, I'll do it. Because I've got to try things in life, or I'm just going to sit here and do nothing. And then I'll be like, oh man, I really wished I could do it.
Have you had any sort of mental issues? Something that you can talk about.
I would admit I have depression, and it's been there for a while, but that's been sitting there and it's just piled up like a lot of things. So, but again, I can't say I diagnose myself with this. I don't check up and confirm it is this. But like the same with my with it being ADHD, I don't know if I have it, but I feel like I do, because it's like the way I act and the way I am, and it's also a little bit of like a family history thing. So it's like, you know, the chance of my dad maybe having it. So
how about have you seen a therapist or something?
I have. It didn't really go well my way. I'll admit. I mean, I could look into it again, but to be fair, I find that me trying to help myself is actually better and more beneficial, because it's like I can just look into myself and I can talk to myself and, you know, finally be like, okay, well, this is you, and if anything a therapist can't reach is truly you, because the only person who can kind of reach is yourself, and you kind of push yourself from there. And yes, that kind of sounds a bit sounds a bit like my ego, but still, I try to push it down from the ego and just say this is just genuinely me. I just want me to understand that you know, I love me, basically.
Okay. What was it like? What's the source of your? What's the cause of your issue, mental health issues?
It's kind of, I would say, motivation, because it's like sometimes I can't get out and do some things, and I stay home, or I cut them off because I'm like, I just can't do this because I can't go out of the house. I don't feel mentally right to do it. And that's why I say I'm a little bit of an introvert, because it's like my social battery dies and then I don't want to talk to anyone anymore. So it's a bit like that social battery. It's a bit like, you know, sometimes it's also who I'm hanging out with, and I feel like I don't want to deal with that group of people. Not that they're toxic, because they can be lovely people. I just don't want to hang out with them because I feel like I'll either let down their mood, or I'll be an asshole, or, you know, or I'll just be so like unfazed by trying to I won't be able to have fun. So I sit at home and I try and do something to keep myself entertained at the very least. Then.
How about saying yes to this documentary? You're the one of the early one who says yes, but somehow we didn't really manage the time and schedule a few times.
That was school, that was work, that was a lot of things kind of applying to me. And as much as I wanted to say yes, things slipped my mind very quickly.
But
plus,
you go.
I would find that me speaking about it now is better than me speaking in the past, because I'm way different to what I asked before. I'm way different to what I was before then. If you had 2 separate interviews, you'd probably get some different answers.
Yeah.
So it's like a lot has changed.
That is true.
Now here I'm trying to stick with what I have now and just be joyful about it, and just notice that, hey, look, things aren't so bad.
Okay. Are you self-critical?
Wait, sorry?
Are you self-critical?
Self-critical? Yeah, I say I would. I mean, I also look at myself in a very practical standpoint, and I look at other things at sometimes I have like a focus, and I'll look at things at a very practical standpoint. So I'll be like, do this, do that. No, this is how it's done. It's like, it's very bouncing around my brain and being like, okay, this is just how it is, So I guess, yeah, self-critical. I feel like it's going out a different way in my mind, but like, yes, I'll say I am. I am, and I'm a little bit critical to others, but I don't really mean it.
What do you mean you're critical to others too?
Maybe someone else is again. So I feel like I'm getting a different thing mixed up with my mind right now, but no, I think I'm just self-critical for now.
Okay. Oh, you don't want to get into that one. That's okay. Do you read?
I haven't read in a bit.
What happened?
Oh, it's just the attention span. Because it's like I'll read and I can't stay for like that. I can't focus on it. I fall asleep, even regardless of if I try to read, I can't engage in the story. Not that I couldn't try to, but I just stopped. Is all.
How about you growing up in the primary school?
I kind of used to read. I tried to read. Again, it was sort of the same problem, to be honest.
Did you read like Harry Potter, Hunger Games, kind of?
I tried to read Hunger Games because I got so confused at everything. Because again, as I was younger there, I wasn't very, when it came to education-wise, I was struggling. So it was like, as much as I want to know what I'm saying, know what I'm reading, it's really hard because it's coming out as a mumbo jumble. And then I heard about dyslexia and I thought I had dyslexia, and then and then I realized that maybe it's not, but I don't know. I couldn't tell because I can still read things perfectly fine, but it was at that time I just couldn't read things properly. So I thought at this point it might just be that spectrum.
What about now?
Now I could probably read it without problems, but like I just haven't read anything because media, everything around me is like it's either my computer and what I'm working on, or it's like games, or it's the motorbike, or it's work, or it's friends. It's not really anything else in between. So no, I'm not really much of a reader.
You see, now I'm a bit curious to how the way you speak, the way your brain function is quite different from other people. And you are quite articulate as well. You're good with the words and language. So I wonder, where are they from then, if you don't really read even growing up?
It's from my father, I would say. He really kind of, he pushes the positive kind of ideology into me a little bit. He always strives for me to try and be the best. He just strives for our family, my brothers as well. So it's like I learn a lot from him, and then I'll also learn a lot from my mom, from the caring side of things. So I get the practical and the loving, and then I get really, really caring from my mom because she always try her best as much as my dad would. So I get it from my parents.
TV shows and movies?
I'll get the fancy words from TV shows and movies sometimes.
Do you watch them?
I don't watch TVs and movies too much. Like TV shows I don't really watch. Movies I may watch every now and then, or I tend to watch with friends because games is more of a thing I do because I like to engage my brain more than I like to sort of just idly watch something.
Okay. What about the music?
That too is also, I guess. See that, like, that's the two things I focus on. It's like listening to music is like the exception for things I can do, because having to like engage my brain, or like engage my brain in music is a different story, because it's like whenever I listen to music I'm kind of listening to every little detail about it, because it's what really like kind of kicks off my brain a little bit.
Do you play an instrument?
I used to play the piano, but
right.
I wouldn't say how well I am at now. I haven't played it in a while, and it's just sitting there picking up dust. So, or keyboard, I'd say, and around piano.
Yeah, piano. Right. Sorry.
One of the two.
What about the art? Different type of the art form that do you consume? Do you go to gallery, museum, or? Go to cinema.
Cinemas are mainly the stuff I usually watch my movies at, because I mean I may watch one at home or something, but art galleries sometimes. Something, again, it's all kind of social stuff that I go either with my family or with friends, so it's not something I would go on my own and do personally.
Okay. Do you write?
Write? I did actually in high school, and I slightly improved, but I realized I don't think I'm really just a writer. I feel like I'm just sort of writing. That's when I thought I'm more like writing a script, and that's what kind of motivates me more about like I guess I'd say like filming, because I can write a script and I can write a story there, and I can visually, stories from in my mind are more visual rather than written down, and that's why I say books are too good of a thing for me, because it's like I can write down the script and what people are saying. I cannot write down every little detail. I'm not a writer.
What kind of text did you study during high school?
Text, or I wouldn't really remember. I forgot a lot of things about high school because I hated it, to be honest.
Okay. Great Gatsby, Shakespeare, anything like
Shakespeare.
that?
Yeah, I would say Shakespeare, but even then I didn't pay too much attention to that. At the time, it was a very lovey-dovey me because of my relationship.
What about Romeo and Juliet then? Did you pay attention to that?
In some sense.
Do you remember the story plot?
About some teenage love. It was very idiotic in my opinion.
Okay.
Next thing you know, one's killing himself because they couldn't wait long enough for the other one to get back up, and they didn't get the note because
But
someone went through.
They didn't know. Yeah.
That's why I say, oh yeah, they couldn't get the note. Fine, but no, I don't know. It when I looked at it, it aggravated me because it's like, man, it's all the small details, like not getting the note, and that's all it took. Next thing you know, it's like a miscommunication, and they're both dead.
Isn't it representative of real life as well? Our life is full of little tiny miscommunication.
Misinterpreted, yeah, you're right. It is a lot of things in life when you look at it won't be correct, and that's when you start getting a toxic relationship, is when I see. It's like when things aren't right, when you aren't saying things correctly, or it's like, or this person they're not communicating right, they're not telling you much things about how they feel, and so yeah, I guess Romeo and Juliet does link to life in some sense, but it's, I don't know, it's...
Do you think what they had, what they had was considered as love?
I think it was, because despite the differences and despite the fact that they were basically two separate households, they tried to fight to be together. And they had this idea, and Romeo had the idea, and it was all gonna work out, but it just didn't. So in a sense, yes, it really explains how love can be from just about a lot of things. Well, I wouldn't say just about anything, but just a lot of things, and you can express love that way. So
there are some people in my documentary, they think that's not love because they only knew each other for a few days, and they
yeah, that's fair, because
they're too young to know. They don't even know each other. What would you say about that?
I can understand that, but the thing is, you got to experiment with love sometimes. You gotta be there, because yeah, they're saying it from the people may be saying it from a standpoint is they've seen love themselves first. Who knows if these people have seen love? Who knows if Romeo and Juliet have seen love? This could be their first love. I'm assuming it probably is. If it wasn't, then I guess you could say it's idiotic. But for someone who is in love and is dumbly in love as they are, they don't think about that until it's too late and they're already married, and next thing you know, it's a problem. But yeah, in a sense, I guess they're right, but love's love, and for a first time, it's still love. Sure, it doesn't feel like your realistic love you'd expect, especially if you've been in a relationship or two, but it's love. It's there.
Okay. So for those people who believe that you must know that person before you properly fall in love, which we don't agree, I assume.
Well, if you haven't even met them in the first place, how can you love them?
No, like, do we need to really know that person before we fall in love, or we don't really have to know them fully, but we can still fall in love?
But I feel like you should get to know them before you... Yeah, in a sense, I guess you're right there, because if you're truly going to fall in love, really got to know them. You can't just sort of look at it in the first few days. So they are right.
I like how you can't just switch to your standpoint. Yeah, no,
It's hard. It's hard for me to explain because yes, they are right, and as much as I'm really trying to defend my point, but no,
you cannot so easily convinced by these stupid arguments.
No. Listen.
Okay.
I'm not being convinced. I'm saying there is a 50-50 to every argument.
Okay.
Because you got to remember there are two sides to the story. So, sure, in a little bit sense, but love is still there. So in a sense, yes, you could fall in love in a few days. But there's always a but. And it's always there. And it's always like, there's this chance. So, I will admit though that yes, you can probably fall in love with someone in a couple of days, but yes, it's still there. It depends what type of love you're talking about though, because remember there's different types.
Romeo and Juliet.
I know it's Romeo. I know. And like even like in romance, there's types of love. It's like, have you just sort of been shocked by their looks and you want to hang out with, you want to be with them because they look nice, and disregard the feelings, disregard the emotions? That's a different type of love then, because now you're looking at the emotional love. You're looking at you're looking at lust. Is it just lust maybe that they're looking at?
So some people say that's just the two horny teenagers.
Yeah, it's lust. So they like them for their bodies and they don't like them for who they are.
How many people in human history were willing to die for each other?
Not what?
That is not love? Then what is love?
You're right, actually. It's not, because lust.
So
now it's clicked in my brain. It's lust. It's not love.
But if that's the only lust, how could they even kill for themselves? Wouldn't there be something authentic about them? They're willing to kill themselves?
Yeah, there's authenticity in the fact that you would die for another. Some would just say that's being over dramatic. But again, that's from someone who's in a standpoint, who's already been in a relationship, would say that. If you've never been in a relationship, then it's probably all feelings, I would say, because you got to remember that initial love, it's all feelings. It's like, oh my goodness, this like the tingly feelings of this person. I feel amazing when I'm with them, But all they're doing, it's like, but if I'm being really honest, like if all they're doing is just kissing and stuff, and it's lust.
This person died just in front of me, and I cannot live my life without this person. I'm gonna kill myself. And that's not love.
This is why you shouldn't have brought me into Romeo and Juliet. I will get so complicated into this because I will.
Alright.
It's okay. It's a good topic, but it's like you're gonna get mixed answers from me.
Alright. How to better yourself or improve, make an advance in your life from this moment now on?
From my life.
Yeah.
Just be open to things, open to opportunities is the biggest thing, because I would take any small or large opportunity. So.
Okay. Are you feeling pessimistic or optimistic about our future?
Pessimistic. It's not looking very bright, to be really honest, and it feels like media is consuming a lot, putting a lot on things, and people consume media. I unfortunately am one of those people who I'm trying to avoid consuming media, and so I look at life and I look at reports and it's all negativity around it. It's like people are trying to force us down. More importantly, it's like we feel like we're forced in one place and we're expected to be normal. And sure, you can jump out and be not normal, but then they make that normal, like a trend. It's when it becomes a trend is when it becomes like, not normal.
Any regrets?
Well, I flushed kind of all my regrets down the drain and saying it's just how life is, and so I just slide it forward. But I guess regrets are the worst things. Could just be embarrassing things I've done. Which could be socially embarrassing things. Could be like being embarrassed in front of family, etc. There isn't really major embarrassing things recently that I've done that was so bad.
Okay. What time do you usually sleep?
11.
Oh, that's not too bad. That's really good.
I try to focus 10, 11 because I just want sleep at least, because it doesn't feel comfortable going past 12.
What time do you wake up?
7 o'clock.
Oh wow, every day. That's awesome. Do you have
Almost every day. It's 6 or 7, and then work is like that. So
Do you have routines, daily routines or weekly routines or schedule that you follow up, like going out, walk, riding a bike?
not particularly. It's kind of freely done, and so it's like I'll go out and do it. I mean, yeah, I could set into a routine. It'd probably be better for me, but yeah, no, don't really have one.
What would you like to change about yourself for the next few years?
I would just really want to meet new people. I want to have an income, and I just want to sort of like, I want to explore. It's like a really, really big crave of mine. It's just exploring, and it could be in any sense. It could be exploring myself mentally. It could be exploring physically and going out to places. It's such a big thing for me. It's like exploring my creativity is one of my biggest things. So whenever I like the feeling of wanting to make something or do something, I'll make a difference in someone else's day. It's the least I can do.
What do you like about yourself?
There's a specific point I really like, because everything still kind of needs improvement.
Oh, you can still like some things about yourself, no?
I mean, I'm like, I don't really know.
Anything.
Anything.
Your character, things that you did, or your own.
My character's always developing. I can't say I like my character, but I can say that I like where it's going. I like where my character's going, and I like the fact that I can put a smile on my face regardless of if someone throws shit at me. So it's like, I that's what I can say. I like myself, and the way I take problems.
So I want you to picture yourself in a couple of years, 10 years, 20.
So like a decade or two.
Yeah, decade or two, even 30 years if necessary. The final transformed the best version of Elijah Joseph. Okay, what kind of person would you like to be?
I think the most transformed me is probably I'll have a relationship, I'll have a good set of friends, I'll have maybe a dream place somewhere rural, to be really honest, because I find that being away from the city is nice. But it's that link to friends, and it's the going out, and it's having the freedom to do things, and to kind of want to be complete and explore places, the places I've always wanted to explore. To go to different countries, see things for myself is the biggest thing. And you can look at things through a camera, but to actually see something for yourself, it's a different feeling, a different emotion. So yeah, that's one of the biggest things, is just seeing everything for myself.
What do you see yourself in 7 years?
7 years, probably along the lines of a diploma or something equivalent in the filming industry. Hopefully by then I'll have a good job, a stable job, and I could be making films, or I could be working for a company, get good pay, and from there I could get a better motorbike and go exploring even further, go check out Australia, go to different places and do everything I want to do and just be happy. It's the biggest thing is I just want to enjoy myself and remember that, because I always remember that life is just smooth, and shouldn't put it any other way. I mean, sure, yeah, you'll have shit shows and sometimes you can't do anything about them, but they're there.
Would you move out by then?
Yeah.
Where would you live?
Somewhere maybe, in 7 years I wouldn't even know. Because I would say somewhere like at least rural. I just want a nice rural place. You can probably very easily get them cheaper than you could in the city, to be honest, but
Okay. Would you find your partner by then? Lifelong partner?
I can't guarantee a lifelong partner, but a partner will do. Because, again, you can't see it, you can't know a soulmate until it's there and it's happened. So.
Right. What do you feel about this whole documentary process interview experience?
Well, it really made me kind of reflect on myself, and so it was kind of nice. It kind of came out good on both ends. You've got a bit of piece of me, and then I've kind of just started to look back at myself a little bit.
Okay.
Remember what is truly like, and notice also how much it's made me realize how much I've improved.
Okay.
Because it's like the gym. You don't notice it in the first few months until you keep doing it persistently, and you know, you realize, holy shit, I'm some buff dude. But,
Do you go to gym?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Not as much as Archie and Nick. They are like full gym junkies.
So do you still hang out with them time to time?
Yeah, I do. When I have the time, those two are in the lovey-dovey stage of their relationship. So
yeah. Nick is still there. It's been over a year now.
I know. It's kind of really crazy to think about that when I actually put it to like thing. Because even Archie as well. So you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very cute.
And I know what their feeling is. So. I kind of respect it. You know, if they have the time, they have the time. But you know, I hope they don't do what I did and sacrifice all their time, because you know I want to hang out with them too.
That's okay.
They're my mates as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Who do you think in your year that may be likely to climb up the social ladder?
Who in our year would be most likely to climb the social ladder? That's an interesting question. Well, Archie definitely did at the time. Archie and Nick were actually two huge ones, and they didn't notice it a lot, but it was a very kind of a passive thing. Where it's like, you know, other people are like, oh my goodness, whoa, these guys they're not what they were like back when they started in year 7. So, you know, it's like I feel like they did, to be honest. But that's only from my personal group, so the way I've known them, and it could be anyone else. I can't say who exactly, because you could be like, oh, the popular kids, but they were always popular kids. So it's like,
what's up with these high school popular kids, myth?
It's a group that I'd never really wanted to mess with in the first place. So I'm like, you know, I'm not going to associate with it. It's basically a mixture of like stooges, not to be rude.
What's the stooges?
If you've ever seen the movie Three Stooges, but like just as a whole group, if that makes sense. But no offense, but I don't want to try to be really rude, to be honest. It's just how I used to think of it back then. You know, people can change. So, you know, for all I care, they could be living like good lives. Yeah.
What about, do you feel lonely?
Yeah. A lot of days I do, but I try to get through it. That's why I make plans with other people, because I'm kind of like an extroverted introvert. So I make plans with people, because there are times I can be alone, there are times I can't be alone. So if I'm at most, I'll talk to someone. So
you see, I noticed that actually lots of people are extroverted introvert. You know?
Yeah. But for me, it's like I was kind of built to just sort of be alone, because it was a very big loner thing for me. But I was used to it. I was used to being sort of alone, and I was happy being alone because I could hang out and, you know, well, not hang out, but like it's a general thing, especially when you are with mates and, you know, you kind of just move houses. You just kind of get used to it. So you get used to sort of, they're temporary. And it was for a bit, because I thought, I was going to move out of Penno Hills as well, because my mum was like thinking of moving up north. But then I was like, okay, no, we're actually staying here now. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Why didn't you move?
Why didn't she? Probably because we still need to. She wants to buy a house, so it's just about funds and money and stuff. And as much as she wants to buy a house, it's like a lot of money and just a lot of commitment in it. And she has other things she wants to do. Like now that she's going into like design, like house design, it's like a different story for her. And so she probably might take a bit longer than usual to go and do that. So yeah. It's actually not as bad as I expected, because when I did actually get out, I was gonna panic and be like, oh, I'm gonna go find my own place, I'm gonna go get a job and, you know, work constant hours and, you know, be on a tight budget.
Yeah.
But it's not really that bad. I mean, sure, I'm not going out and living in a different place for now, just because until I get a steady income. But it's about, you know, it's not as bad as people seem. And then you have the freedom to do things. I've done way more things I've always wanted to, and when I've gotten this motorbike, it's made me so much better as well, because I've been traveling more. So that's like one big, huge up for this for me. It was just like, it was so exciting when I got the motorbike, especially.
When did you get it?
Well, I started riding probably, I'd say about almost 6 months ago.
Okay.
5, 6.
Mm.
And I got my new motorbike only about a month ago. So I was running a low powered, and now I'm a bit better.
So you kind of a saver then. You're kind of a saver. You save money.
Yeah, I'm a big saver because when I have a big goal and I want something I want, I will do that. I'll put in money. I'm always saving. Like most of my money that I get from my pay is just straight to savings because it's what's important. At least I find it's what's important, especially if it's something I want.
Okay.
So, yeah, you won't see me spending a lot of money, to be really honest. The only time I may pull it out once if I'm like have no money at all.
What else has been happening after high school?
Well, I was looking for that film stuff. It's more or less just been work. I would say it is a bit plain, but I've been kind of just trying to work on myself for most of this time, and I've improved on myself. I've gotten rid of people. I've met new people, and it's been going pretty steady. I'll admit I have my ups and downs, but I guess it is pretty dull, to be honest. But I meet new people, and people influence me, and I've gotten more people to go in little places with me. Like I've gone and adventured, far up north as well. And
by riding a motorbike. Is it safe?
Yeah, it's safe. It's mostly safe when you have the right motorbike. That is. But no, it's fun. It's all right. I guess it's just based on personal skill.
So, do you enjoy life after high school?
I would say yes, and I would say no.
Oh, what's yes and what's no? Yes,
because I've said before, freedom. I've been so happy knowing that I can do what I want, basically, and it's been nice, and I have been able to like hang out with friends and finally find time to hang out with friends. And I said it again. I've had time to hang out with friends and time to hang out with family as well. It's nice to kind of engage more on that and not have the stresses of having to think about school. I mean, sure, I will think about it eventually at some point, because if I go in the TAFE and I do my film school, or if I do TAFE in other subjects, but it won't be as bad because it'll be something I enjoy. I'm going to be really honest, school didn't have just about everything I enjoyed, but it was there. So it did kind of put a lot of pressure, and especially COVID was a bit of a problem. Get my helmet on, get my jacket on, get this tied up, get my gloves on, put some GPS on. Alright. I will catch you
sometime soon.
I'll catch you in, I guess, a couple years.
Couple years maybe, yeah. Bye, Elijah.
That's a bit awkward.
It's okay.